basically everyone's got a window of tolerance, and some people's window of tolerance can be quite large and some people's can be quite small. But when they go outside the window of tolerance for stress, you usually go into a state of fight flight, or you go into hyper-arousal, which is a lot of anxiety, chaos, like doing things, or hypo-arousal, which is absolutely shutting down.
Big fucking dreams. All right then. You got this.
Hey, big fucking dreamers. So pumped to be here with you today. It is so funny. I'm doing like a big batch of podcast recording today. That's how I usually do it. I'll do like a month recording at a time. And I was just getting everything ready, and I'm trying out 2 new cameras, and I've got my ring light set up and my mic and my laptop. And I'd woken up and I was like finishing all my outlines and I was getting everything, and I sat down in the chair to test out the second camera, and Chris looked at me and I was still in my pajamas and was like a little haggard troll, and Chris was like, "Are you recording like that? Are you gonna get ready?" And I was like, "Yes, no fear, I am gonna get ready. I'm not gonna be a haggard little troll for YouTube and the Daily Telegraph." So here I am, half an hour later, got my makeup on, got my hair curled, got a bunch of hairspray in, so feeling fucking good. So let's go. I usually prep these episodes pretty thoroughly. I do a lot of research for each episode. I like to have everything planned out, but I decided I'm just going to raw dog this one because this is something that I went over with my therapist yesterday, and I was in a session with her, and I see my therapist. I'm not doing any intense therapy right now. There have been periods of my life where I have been in intense trauma therapy or just seen a therapist for, really specific reason. My therapist right now, I would say I'm like in maintenance mode, which is a really good place to be. It feels really good. I see her once a month. It's kind of like just a mental health check-in with whatever is coming up for me at that time. So I saw her yesterday and I just said, there's this thing that I've noticed that I'm doing, which is I tend to just get overwhelmed with things and then think like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed with something. And then I just like to shut down. And what we spoke about yesterday was basically everyone's got a window of tolerance, and some people's window of tolerance can be quite large and some people's can be quite small. But when they go outside the window of tolerance for stress, you usually go into a state of fight flight, or you go into hyper-arousal, which is a lot of anxiety, chaos, like doing things, or hypo-arousal, which is absolutely shutting down. I tend to go into hypo-arousal. If anyone's been in my programs or coached with me, you know that I have a part of me called the sloth monster. I could literally sit and watch TV, no joke, for 10 hours straight. And Chris sometimes, and I don't do it often because then I do get quite depressed after, but sometimes Chris will be like, my husband, for those of you that are new here, he'll just say to me like, wow, it's really amazing that you can just watch TV for 10 hours, because Chris is just not that person. I've like never seen him watch TVs like more than an hour at a time. He's just not like that. So I noticed this pattern where I would just tell myself like, okay, I am getting super overwhelmed, or what I perceive as overwhelm, and then I'm going into a state of hypo-arousal, or I just want to check out. And checking out for me looks like watching a bunch of TV. It looks like reading gay romance hockey novels. For those of you that know my heated rivalry obsession, I've just read I think Rachel Reed's got 8 books. I've just smashed through all of her books in a month. I just kind of noticed myself doing this. And when I looked at what was underneath, it's that my business is in a phase of hypergrowth right now, and I have a lot of decisions that I need to make. And basically, what I realized yesterday is that the overwhelm was linked to not making decisions. And I would sit on these certain decisions, and instead of just going, okay, great, I need to make this decision, move on, bang, and then execute, which I'm really good at executing. And I was thinking about it, and like in my sales career, if I was told to sell a product, it was just like, great, go sell that product. And sometimes I would push back. And I remember one time when I was leading a team, we were selling this one product, but it wasn't really making sense to me because the delivery time was so labor intensive, but it was a huge focus for the business. And I remember saying to my boss at the time, like, this doesn't make sense that we have to sell this product. And he was just like, it doesn't matter. This is a directive. Go sell it. And it was like, fine, okay, whatever. We're going to go sell it. Let's figure it out. So I have no problem executing things. Where my issue and where the overwhelm actually tends to sit with me, and I think a lot of people will resonate, is when I have these kind of like open tabs and it's like, which way should I go? Should I do this way? For me, for example, it was choosing, do I shut my current course down or do I launch a new one? Okay, if I keep my current course, do I make it evergreen where people can join at any time, or do I make it, cohort based, do launch based, which is what I'm doing now. So I was just like sitting on these big decisions and not making them. What I realized is that is where the kind of mental turmoil and rumination and stress is coming in. And whenever you make a decision, there are always going to be pros and cons. No decision is ever perfect. So there are going to be positives to the decisions and negatives to the decisions, but not sitting on the decision. There is so much opportunity cost in that. And I was in a sales call with someone, and actually a good friend, and she is joining my program, which I'm so excited for. And she was saying to me that she had a lot of career indecision, and that's really what she joined the Life and Work Transformation for. She had gone on maternity leave, hadn't really entered back into full-time work yet. She was looking at all of her options, and she just said to me, and it was really interesting because she was like you, I can execute once I know what I'm doing. But if I'm kind of stuck in this limbo, then I have trouble and I'm not executing. And I just thought that encapsulates perfectly what I'm doing. So what I have done now, of course, me being me, is I made a process. And basically with these big decisions, so right now, for example, I'm grappling with a few things. Do I make my program evergreen or do I keep it in launch mode? Also, do I change the name of my program? Because my signature program is called the Life and Work Transformation. Even people that have been in the program for years, they've been in level 1, they've been in level 2, they've been in my masterminds. You guys know who you are because you're listening to this podcast. Even people get the name wrong. And I'm like, okay, I'm not very good at naming things, like naming programs, naming masterclasses, not my strong suit. It's something that I'm trying to get better at, but I think I need to name it, but I'm kind of like going back and forth. So what I've decided is, okay, great. Right now, that decision-making process is like, I get 5 days. I get 5 days. By the end of 5 days, I have to go through something. I can do some research, but I can't do more than 3 hours of research. I have to cap it because the more information you get in, the more analysis paralysis, the less likely you are to decide. And when you decide and you take action, that is when you can get data and you can say, is something working or is it not working? But I see clients, especially clients with a lot of perfectionist tendencies. And by the way, I never thought I had perfectionist tendencies. And I've realized that, surprise, I've realized that I actually do have some perfectionist tendencies and I can see it in what I'm doing with this decision-making process. But the longer you sit on something, the less data that you have into is it working or not. And so now kind of what I'm really doing is like deciding, okay, move quickly, do the research, of course, have the conversations, but it has to be limited. And then you have to go and then you just have to execute. And like, I work really well in execution mode, but I've realized that I've just been in this like indecision mode and not really had a name for it and thought it was overwhelm. So this could be you if you're sitting on, could be a like few big things, could be a career move, could be deciding to move to a city, could be a big thing like deciding whether to have children or not. And that I will say, like, take time. As you guys know, for the OGs that are listening, I've definitely gone through a huge process in that because, there's no take backs. So that one, maybe sit on it. But again, you're never going to know, and you're never going to know what kid you get. So here's to praying it's a good one. But that being said, if you need to make a big decision, ring fence it. Give yourself a time limit. Give yourself, a certain number of time to research. Give yourself a certain number of conversations and then cap it. Go for it. So this one was just a short, sweet, little spicy episode. I'd love to hear if this helped you out. Send me a DM. You guys all know where to find me. And thank you for listening, big fucking dreamers. And I will see you next week.
Big fucking dreams.